Oh, goodness. Ow. Whoops. Okay, where to start? All right. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Design and Dysfunction. Today I am sitting in what will be my new office. We've lived in this house for a year now, and this room is just the catch-all. It is the junk room. It is where everything got placed because I had no design for it. I had no plan for it. Originally, this room was actually supposed to be my son's bedroom, but he's 12 and it's kind of small, and we figured all the kids need to be upstairs together. Yeah, this is just now going to be my office, I guess. This channel literally is going to be about design for dysfunction. Design and dysfunction. Like, there's something in all of our lives that is dysfunctional. It could be our health, it could be our mental health, it could be our relationships, whatever. We need to be designing for our dysfunction. The place we live should be helping us every day, not hurting us. And here's what leads me into discussing minimalism in 2023. Minimalism came along in the 2010s, and it was really an answer to all the consumerism that we saw.
Wait a second, it didn't start then. Actually, minimalism is found in antiquity. Of course, it wasn't always called minimalism, but the basic principles were there. For instance, in Buddhism, particularly in the monastic life, physical possessions and even relationships are sacrificed in order to produce an environment free from the entanglements of earthly care, so the practicer is able to reach a level of enlightenment. In Judaism and Christianity, the books of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes speak of the emptiness of the pursuit of money and possessions, along with sound guidelines dictating the management of possessions, lands, relationships, and wisdom in general. The New Testament also tells us that the early Christians had a practice of selling their possessions and living communally so that they could better care for widows and orphans and further the gospel. Modern minimalism was born out of the necessity to eliminate the abundance of the opulence and gaudiness of the long-standing Victorian era. It became popular in the 1950s and 60s, but nothing lasts forever, and the cycle continued.
There was a huge boost of consumerism in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And you had the styles of, the Tuscan
and the country charm,
the just everything everywhere look. The McMansions were in, but we were beginning to see how fickle and how empty all of those possessions actually were. Enter minimalism. It was basically the hero of the last decade. And it made a lot of sense. Think about it. What religion on earth has a problem with minimalism? Actually, it helps people get to know themselves on the inside, spiritually. It leaves room for us to delve into what we need to, right? There were Buddhists practicing it, Christians, atheists, Muslims. Basically, it was anybody that could practice minimalism was practicing it because they were seeing the emptiness of consumerism. Now, fast forward a few years and we get all the lockdowns. Minimalism caused us to get out more and to experience the world more and to be around people more. But unfortunately, during the lockdowns, we lost that ability and we came home to empty houses. They were easy to keep clean, but they were rather boring. One might even say they were sterile. And think about this psychologically. We were having to sterilize every surface. We were wearing masks. We were coming home to our super sterile homes, and things just felt clinical. The clinical aesthetic that minimalism could have really just kind of fell off the planet. So I really believe that clinical type of minimalism is dead or dying. But I think the principles of minimalism, the not consuming too much, the only having what you can care for, the spending more time with your family even though you do have possessions, I think that will actually continue to see a rise. In fact, I personally am not aesthetically a minimalist. However, I do take minimalist principles. I watch minimalist channels because it gives me good ideas about how to use what I already have or how to let go of some things that I have. Even though aesthetically, I'm definitely more of a maximalist. Can you tell? It keeps me in check. I feel like I'm falling over here. I'm sitting on my side on the floor. Hey, they say use what you have, right? A lot of us thought we were minimalists because we resonated with what real minimalists were teaching. People like Joshua Becker, Joshua Fields I can't say his name. Joshua Fields Milburn, and Ryan Nicodemus, the minimalists. We really understood what they were saying intrinsically. However, most of the Western world, we're used to having more stuff. And although, we kind of trended towards getting rid of everything, let's face it, we're coming back with it. But the good news is we're doing it within reason. So in 2023, I think minimalism will take on a much warmer tone. So the minimalism that will come forward, I think, will be much more colorful. People that are true maximalists in nature, like myself, we will take what we have learned as minimalists and apply it to our hoarding tendencies. We'll be much more strategic about what we choose and how we use it, how we display things. If you are interested in how I have used minimalism in my mental health journey and also in my design journey, then please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. And I'd love to hear, what is your favorite thing about minimalism and what would you like to see disappear in true minimalist fashion? I think one of the reasons why minimalism just took off like it did was it was fueled by this idea of, this perfect ideal house for the children, and, the show Hoarders and the show Obsessive Compulsive Cleaners and Clean House, all those shows that I absolutely love. But this, need to have everything sterile and clean, no matter what style it was. It could have been a Victorian house, but they would say, oh my goodness, all of these tchotchkes, they all need to be dusted. Well, I never saw my grandmother dust that much. I'm not afraid of dust. And I feel like we kind of became that. Maybe this is pretty old fashioned of me, but if the kid's lollipop falls in the dirt, take it inside, rinse it off. And as long as it's not, a public street or something, if it's your own yard and it fell in the grass, it's probably fine, Yes, people are possibly working too much and not spending enough time with their families, but that didn't mean they had to get rid of everything except for 3 board games, and now you spend all of your time talking with your family. We still have TV. Our brains are still wired for entertainment electronically. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we could do that, and we keep knocking this over. We could get rid of our stuff and we could move into a van or travel the country or whatever. There's pros and cons to all that. But is that sustainable? Is that, something we're going to do long term in the society? Probably not. So that's why I think minimalism isn't dead. And what I truly think is minimalism's truest form now has the potential to show itself. I think minimalism as the idea and as the idea of restraint, I think that really is what will show itself in 2023. I also think that as far as, the styles go, the design trends go, of course, there's going to be more curves instead of the hard lines. There's going to be more, tans and beiges, more of the Japandi style, more of the warmer Scandinavian styles instead of the sterile black and white gray harshness. We're over that. There's definitely going to be a lot more greenery. Plants are in. Plants have always been in. Problem is, I can't keep plants very well. This is a rather dark house. It is a Cape Cod style, so that's for another time. Anywho, back to minimalism. I'll admit I have too much stuff, but I think as far as our mental health is concerned, as long as we don't take it to obsessive controlling levels, I think it's actually good and it's here to stay. But this stuff right here, gone. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the description box below, and I will respond to every one of them if I can. At this point, I definitely can, because I am so thankful. We have jumped from 183 to, the last I checked, 229 subscribers, so thank you. And my foot is now asleep. It's like I can barely feel it. So I will see you in the next video. Ciao.